Hi, Jan Ozer here from Mile High Video. I'm here with Jan de Kook from Synamedia. Thanks for joining me, Jan.
Thanks, Jan.
So why don't you tell us about what Synamedia does?
Okay, so Synamedia is a global provider of video solutions. We take care of the end-to-end delivery, let's say from the very ingest of the video format through primary distribution. My focus is mostly on the compression, the encoding, transcoding part, but we also have our very own CDN delivery networks that we offer to our customers.
Okay, and what solutions are you in particular showing here at Mile High?
Yeah, so we have quite a few presentations here. We have, some of my colleagues are showing our latest innovations around CDN technology, quite a few exciting things going on there. On my end, I'm showing some of the latest work in compression, video quality measurement, which is heavily tuned towards live video distribution.
Okay, and yesterday I was in a presentation you gave about VMAF, and you talked about the ability to tune your live stream to certain VMAF parameters. Why don't you talk about that a bit? That was pretty interesting.
Yeah. So one of the things that we've noticed over the years is that measuring video quality is not a trivial problem. We've invested a lot in our video compression technology. We want to obviously share that with the world, but we also want to make it visible to customers in terms of video quality. We are very proud of the video quality. We also want customers to be able to measure it. And one of the trickiest parts of, I think, video compression is how do you measure the progress? How do you measure the video quality? How do you track it? There's been a lot of work in this field over the past decades. Some of that is a solved problem, but in particular for VOD, you have quite a few good metrics and solutions out there. But once you go towards the live video distribution side, it becomes more challenging because you add in the constraint of computational complexity. And that's one thing we're trying to solve or help solve. That's also one of the reasons why we've worked on our very own VMAF predictor that we've recently shared as an open source contribution, first for X264, and today I also gave a presentation of how we are expanding that work into AV1, specifically for the SVT AV1 encoder.
Tell me about that. I wasn't able to make that presentation, but what are you doing with SVT? I guess you're reporting live VMAF scores from a live SVT AV1 stream?
Yes, correct. So the strength of this approach is that while you're doing the encoding, you already have a lot of the data available. You have a lot of features, a lot of statistics that you're collecting. This gives you, with some limited additional complexity, you can make it you can obtain a very accurate quality estimate. We use this to predict VMAF values. And within the SVT AV1 encoder, we're now adding this functionality. So just with a command line option now, you could get the result frame by frame. You would get the predicted VMAF values. So this enables 24/7 video quality tracking with almost no computational overhead.
And what was impressive about your presentation yesterday was the correlation between, I guess, P VMAF and VMAF was almost,
correct.
It seemed almost 100%.
It is, yeah, we're reaching like in the upper 90s percentile of correlation coefficients. So it correlates really well. It's not perfect. VMAF is not perfect. The approximation is not perfect. But it'll get you very far in getting a reliable estimate of the quality that you can use for detecting possible issues in video quality at any point in time, but also even to help steer the video quality as part of your rate control loop, which then becomes a rate quality control loop.
So how does that work? Do I just dial in, 95 VMAF and then you keep adjusting until you get to that level? Or?
Yes. So that's something that we haven't open sourced that at this point, but it is part of our own encoders where you can indeed set a target VMAF value. And based on this internal VMAF prediction, we try to stay as close as possible to the target.
What is the target these days? I always talk about 95, but is that accepted, or is that just one view of that?
It's it's definitely pretty high target. I think a good sweet spot is often like 93, but it depends on your personal preference and the customer's preferences. And of course, you want to set different targets depending on the design of your ABR ladder.
I was just going to ask, what do you do for rung 2? Because you can target 93 to 95 for the top rung, but then you've got to drop down to a different bit rate, and then it's just get the best rate, the best quality you can at that bit rate.
Yeah. So you want to have some kind of spacing between profiles that makes sense. So maybe a VMAF difference of, in theory 6, maybe in practice a bit smaller. It depends a lot on, what quality you want to reach for every profile in the ladder. So there's quite a bit of flexibility, but we also want to make it very intuitive to configure that by setting those target values.
Okay. And I know you from your work at Netflix and your original work at VMAF. I just wanted to get that in the video because not everybody's going to know that. Well, one question I have, if I could hijack your knowledge, is how are people using VMAF NEG? I use VMAF a lot. I don't look at different encoders a lot, so really hacking is not a concern for me. But how would I use VMAF NEG? If I get a VMAF score that's really high, what do I do with VMAF NEG that tells me that something may be fishy?
Well, VMAF no enhancement gain was designed specifically for that, right? To detect if there's maybe some kind of over tweaking being done on the pre-processing side. Because it seems to be widely spread knowledge that there's ways in which you can boost VMAF. If you want to have a very objective and apples-to-apples comparison between encoders, you want to exclude those effects. And then having the combination of the, let's say, original VMAF model, and on top of that, the VMAF NEG model, the combination will give you some indication, there's maybe too much of a discrepancy for this to be...
So if VMAF is 95 and then VMAF NEG or VMAF NEG, how do you say it? I guess it doesn't matter.
I don't have a personal preference.
So what would be alarming for you? Give me scores that would be alarming, and give me scores that would be that would make sense.
Don't want to put a real number on that, but I've seen in some cases, if you really boost it and you get a VMAF difference. Actually, today we also saw some presentations where the VMAF difference was quite large between both, or the percentual gains based on that VMAF model in terms of BD rate. I'd say you're probably spending, maybe overdoing it on the pre-processing side.
So you're saying if the BD rates are very different between VMAF NEG and VMAF regular, there's something fishy that might be going on?
Yes, so you might not be looking at real gains, or it's not at least the effect of the encoder. Maybe there's applications, of course, to allow that kind of pre-processing. But if you want to select encoders and have a fair and more objective evaluation, there's probably something going on that's not too correct.
Okay, so one of the things I'm asking different interviewees is their views on VVC. What are you hearing from people that you're talking to here, and what are you hearing in general about implementing VVC?
Yeah, VVC, it's a good question. We have developed our own encoders going back to MPEG-2 days, also AVC, HEVC, and we have our own VVC implementation. We are seeing interest, I would say, VVC, but I would not, it's still early exploration, I think. It's also quite geographically dependent, I would say. Some parts of the world might be faster in, evaluating first and then adopting possibly VVC. I think, in some parts of the world it's more just early interest. In other parts of the world we're seeing a bit more concrete, testing going on, exploration of also decoder devices and how those would enter the market.
So go into that. Is that I heard from another interviewer that China was not adopting anything from the Alliance for Open Media because they wanted open standards. Is that what, are you talking about China for VVC adoption? Is that what you're saying?
Well, China is indeed, I think, a market where things might go faster than in other parts of the world. There's also the TV 3.0 initiative in Brazil, where VVC is in the toolbox. So there's a couple of places where I think the interest is a bit more concrete at this point.
Okay. And, how many years have you been to Mile High? And, what do you find very valuable at Mile High? Who's here? What are the papers? Why is it valuable for you as a company to come here?
Yeah. Well, actually, it's not my third. It's the third time I'm attending. And I must say I regret a bit not going sooner. For me, it strikes a pretty good balance between industry interest. Also from like a vendor and a customer perspective, the industry is quite well represented. You also have academic interest, so it provides a pretty good representation of the whole video ecosystem. It's also not just about video coding, but also the delivery side. It's always good to have those opinions as well in the room. So it's a good spread on one hand between industry and academia, but also between different topics on the whole video delivery chain.
So Netflix has been great with open sourcing VMAF, and Synamedia has been great with open sourcing some of your innovations. What's the benefit to you of open sourcing?
Well, open sourcing, I think it's also about just encouraging the ecosystem or encouraging innovation in this area. As I was saying, on the VOD side, I think in terms of video quality, there's more problems that have been solved, or I think we have pretty good solutions. On the live side, we're not entirely there yet. For Synamedia, it does make sense to contribute in this space. We also want to be a global leader in this space, specifically for live, since we offer this end-to-end range of solutions. And I feel like with PVMF, we are achieving those goals.
Okay. Listen, thanks for your time. Have a great show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Okay.